Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, the book club podcast, and this is the season 2 recap episode. I'm
And
Bree.
I'm Megan, and I'm back.
Woo!
Woo!
Yes! Back to recap all the favorite reads and nightcaps
Yes.
from this year.
Yes.
I'm so happy you're here.
Me too, because it's been like months. I don't know how
I know.
many, but months since I've done this. And it's a nice homecoming.
Okay, I miss
I
you.
miss you because I feel like we used to just talk and talk and talk all the time about everything. And then I freaking had another baby, and now we don't talk ever.
I know. Well, we're both really busy. You're just different busy
Yes.
taking care of 2 little ones
I
now.
know. Well, and you are just rocking the world, so
I don't know about that, but I'm certainly doing my best. So, well, let's get right into it because I'm excited to hear about your favorite books from this year, starting with your top 5 podcast
okay.
books.
And I think, obviously we both include interviews? I included interviews, author interview books.
I did
Okay.
not, but that's cool.
Okay. Sounds good. So I, added a few, I think 2 of the author interviews that we did, and then otherwise it's all just what we read for the podcast. So my first one, The Lost Apothecary. I know that we didn't necessarily love the like second point of view. We felt like that wasn't needed, but like the story itself I felt was really, really good. And I loved the historical aspect of everything and kind of the like semi cliffhanger at the end of like was did it really did she really die, did she not, but like we kind of know, but we don't necessarily, it wasn't written out for us. So that one.
Fair. That one almost made my top 5.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
it almost did, because I agree with you, like, thinking about it a few months later, I was like, I did really enjoy the overall story, especially the historical side of that.
Yes.
So, big picture wise, did like that.
Yes. And I also feel like it is one that I've been like recommending to other people if they're like, "Hey, you just kind of want to like read something I haven't read before." I'm like, "Oh, have you tried this? Maybe you'll like it." So, then The Night Circus, that was so good. That was so good. I know it was light fantasy. Fantasy is not my thing. We've been over this 100 million thousand times, but I really, really liked it. And it was a long book. I mean, that was a lot to get through, but it was a really good book. Love
Oh,
that one.
I'm so glad you liked that one.
Yes. And then, so my 2 author interviews, Love of My Afterlife. I just thought like that was just such a fun read, and I loved our interview, and it was just so like bubbly and cute and quaint, and I feel like scenes from that book still stick with me. Like I'll still think back on it and be like, "Oh, what book was that from? Oh yeah, that's what it was." So I really liked that one. And then the breakup lists, I also really liked. Like that was just such a cute story in general, and it was such an easy read. And I feel like at the time I was reading it, it just like lifted my spirits a bit because I think that was like an early interview. It's hard to think back
That
now.
was like earlier, like the first half of the year.
Yeah.
I want to say that was in April or May. Like, it was early.
Yes, and so I just felt like for that time that we read the book and did the interview, like, I just needed it, and it just kind of fit what I was needing at the time, which is great. And then the last one, and I think this was my last recording, was Did You Hear About Kitty Carr? And I know that you didn't, because that was a different podcast for that particular episode, but I really liked it. I hope did you actually end up finishing it?
No.
No? That's okay. Just
And it's not because I don't want to. I truly do want to go back and read it. I just haven't. My reading, I would say, the past couple of months has been really hard.
yeah.
So, reading anything in general has been a bit of a challenge. And so I've pretty much been sticking to the podcast reads, like the things that I need to get finished by a certain time,
Yeah.
and the author interviews and everything. Outside of that, like, I, for the first time over Thanksgiving, actually read a book, like, for fun.
Oh, good. Which one?
Oh my gosh, why can't okay, it's over there. Oh, Once More with Feeling. Do you remember I had you read it, The Funny You Should Ask
Yes.
by okay, so same author. I picked up this book a long time ago and it's just been sitting on my shelf because I really liked Funny You Should
Yeah.
Ask. And so I picked up that one and because I was like, you know what, I think I need something that's just like easy.
Yes.
And I don't really have to think about and is just fun and whatever. So I was like, well, that should be a really good one. And so that was the first book that I've read in a couple of months for fun.
Nice. I, set a, like, reading challenge in Goodreads for the year, and I'm going to hit it. I'm so proud of myself because, like, especially after having May come, I was just like, "I don't know when I'm gonna read, but I just read when I'm nursing her," which is constantly, so it's actually working out great. Okay, how
Oh,
about
I
your
love
books?
it. Well, those were a really good list. So I didn't include any author interviews, but I will say that's not because some of them are in my like technical top 5. Like I feel like we're really, really fortunate to have some not only awesome like conversations, but the books that we were able to read were so, so good this year.
Yes.
And so so that was why I like didn't put any in mind because I was just like, I don't want to have to choose between any of these because I really, really liked a lot of
Yes.
them.
Well, I will say I only included them because I feel like my time on the pod was limited this year, so I didn't have as wide of a berth to choose from, but it's all good.
That totally makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so my top 5 books, for, like, our book club episodes, in no particular order, were The 7-Year Slip.
Mhm. That was a good one.
Um, I'm low-key kind of obsessed with that book and want to reread it a lot. So, and then recently, with you being out, we've been reading the Crescent City series. And so, Crescent City 1 and Crescent City 2 were definitely in my top 5. The third one, not so much, but that's fine. But the first and the second books, like, loved, loved, loved those. The Night Circus, definitely. I absolutely adored that book. And like you were saying, you still think about the love of my afterlife. I think about the Night
Yes.
Circus, and it's hard not to. And then this summer will be different.
That was a good
Um,
one too.
yeah, just a really good summer read, super easy. I really like Carly Fortune's writing,
Mhm.
like, so excited to see all that's going on with her. Oh, and I meant to mention too, The Love of My Afterlife, you saw that's being adapted, right?
What? No?
Yeah, yeah,
Yay! We've talked
I
to
know,
her.
I know. How crazy is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I cannot wait, can't
Who's
wait.
doing it?
I don't remember. Hold on, let me see if I can look quickly and tell you.
No, I mean, that's okay. Sorry, you can cut this out if you need to. I did
If I
not see that
can
though. That's amazing.
she is Oh, here you go. The It Ends With Us producer, Wayfarer Studios, is developing Kirsty Greenwood's bestseller, The Love of My Afterlife, for film, Vicky Jones scripting.
Oh my gosh. Is there any, like, casting or anything yet, or is it probably too soon?
No, that was in September, and I don't know if there's been really much else, at least not on Kirsty Greenwood's social media. I don't really see anything else other than the official announcement that it was gonna be
That's
adapted.
awesome. And I can't remember, was that her debut novel? No. Okay,
No, no.
I couldn't remember what we talked about, but
Um,
it's been a minute.
but it definitely took off
Yeah.
this summer. So I'm so excited for that. I tell everyone about that book.
Yes, that's amazing. Well, I just love when I have, like, the copies that say, like, not for resale or, not for sale. This is like the first time it's ever been out kind of thing. And I'm like, "Ugh, I'm one of those girls that's got that copy." Speaking of, I just got one in the mail too, which I think is for an
Luck
interview like in February, maybe March.
Lucky Night.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember what day it is, but it is in like the first 3 months of the year,
Okay, cool.
that one.
So I've got
So,
time to read it.
you've got time, couple other interviews too. So, yeah, I'm excited to read that one. All right, what were your top
Yeah,
nightcaps?
nightcap.
Quote.
I
Nightcaps.
I kinda had to go back and just reread, like, would I have liked to drink that? And then if I did, I put it on my list. So, I put the Hemingway daiquiri, which was from A Likely Story, so that it's been a minute since we read that book, but, um and I don't remember all the ingredients. We could go back to our episode notes and pull them out, but that one sounded really good in theory. And then the lemon mint mocktail from Marlena, which that book was hella depressing, but that cocktail was really nice. And then for my last one, I drink a lot of ice. Sponsor us if you want to on the pod because I just like couldn't, obviously drink anything else. But they come in like such fun colors and flavors that I always felt like I had a little spritz on the side because it's sparkling ice. So it was delicious.
I do love those drinks. I also wasn't pregnant, but I feel like I didn't actually get to try a lot
Ooh,
of these
why did
this
like I didn't even try to make mocktails. What were we just
I
busy?
did so I will say I did make the mocktail and I put that in my top 3 because it was really, really good. Um, have made it more than
Oh,
once, highly
nice.
recommend. Yeah, so, that was Marlena, which is super depressing, so, even if you don't wanna be depressed, like, go look at the podcast notes and make that mocktail because that was really, really good. But yeah, I slacked a lot this year on actually trying these, I'm kinda bummed. I did make the blueberry lemon sangria, which was from Nikki Sips on Instagram, and I made that for I wanna say it was, like, around the 4th of July or something, I don't even remember, but I made that and, like, Jared and I both drank it, and it was good. The only thing I will say is that I bought blueberry vodka for it, which is not something I would generally have on
Yeah.
hand or drink and, like, never finished. So I've just had this, like, bottle of blueberry vodka that I don't really know what to do
What
with
else can
because
you do with it? Well,
I'm
we'll have to find
sure
another cocktail.
I know, I'll have to find another cocktail in the new year to use that. So, the lemon mint mocktail, the blueberry lemon sangria from Nikki Dot Sips, those were 2 of my favorites, and then I didn't actually get to try this, but it was one of my favorite pairings that Emily from Books and Bottles paired. She picked the Walls 2021 Bellamy Cabernet Sauvignon for Crescent City 2, and that pairing, just like the reason she picked it could not have been more spot on or absolutely perfect for that book, and it still, like, blow she's really, really good at that, but that one just blew me away, so that one's going in my top because it was just the perfect pairing for that book.
That's awesome. Another one that Emily picked out was from The Summer Will Be Different, the Vino Verde, and I still haven't tried it, but I really wanna go back and do that because
Me too.
I just feel like it would be so refreshing.
Agreed, agreed. Okay, what did you read on your own? These are gonna be so different between the 2 of us.
Yeah.
You start.
Okay, so my first one was Tell Me Lies, which is a series on Hulu, but I didn't realize it was a book, and so I've read the book, and I'm realizing the book and the series are very, very different. So if you want,
Wait, really?
the concept is the same, the character names are the same, how everything plays out is extremely different, like extremely different.
Okay, now you kinda make so I knew it was a book, I will say watched all of season
Mhm.
1, have watched part of season 2,
Okay.
but you still think it's worth it to
I
read
think
the
so.
book?
I because I also feel like character Steven's character in the book is almost worse than in person, like, than he is on the screen, and I feel like you almost need to read that portion to, like, really understand how deep his manipulation is. Like, it is wild. I was, like, mad reading it because I'm like, "This," and I will say, if you do read the book, the series does not show this as much, but, like, very, very heavy trigger warnings on, like, eating disorders and, like, depression going through college.
Okay.
because it's, like, insane, but the book and the show are so, so different. I liked reading it because I was so intrigued by the series, but I'm just like, "Whoa." Other than, like, the names and being in college, everything is very, very different.
Okay, well,
So read it.
I don't know, I was gonna say that kinda makes me wanna read it more, not because of all the heavy topics, but just the fact that they are so
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Okay, so interesting. I was like, "Oh my gosh, is that the same
Yeah.
thing?"
It is. It's what
Okay.
it's supposed to be based off of, so but I'll say loosely based off of. Um,
Okay.
the next book is Listen for the Lie. So that one I actually just read recently. I kind of was like in a lie title series because I also listened to First Lie Wins, which I know you have on your list, or I read that one too. So I had a bunch of books with lie in it. But Listen for the Lie is basically um, a podcaster that is helping a girl who is suspected of having potentially murdered her best friend uncover what truly happened to her and like how that all came out. And it's a little bit lighter. I mean, like obviously it's a heavy topic. A girl was murdered, but the the dynamic between the two characters is light. She's a very like sarcastic personality, and so I don't feel like it's as I don't know like hard to read because of the murder aspect and everything. But it was just it was a good read. So listen for the lie. And then I also read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which to me, that one is kind of like um, A Man Called Ove in a way, like just
Okay.
very and maybe that's not even but I guess a little bit. I found that it was kind of similar, but she just is a very like to herself kind of person, Eleanor that is, and I almost feel like she might be on the spectrum. Like the way you read it, you're kind of like, "Oh, you are like very particular. All of these things have to work in this very certain way." And I feel like she has a hard time understanding like that other people do care for her and like want to be friends with her because she's so kind of closed off. So that one. Um, The Perfect Marriage. So that one,
I wanna
oh,
read this so
you need to.
badly.
You need to. That one is amazing. And I like the twist in you're just gonna be like, what the hell? Just what did I just read? So I don't want to give anything else away because you would like to read it. But it was so good. And like I got through that in like 3 days because I'm just like, I gotta see what happens. And then my last one is Carrie Soto is back. So Taylor Jenkins Reid, of course. But that was a nice read. It's about like tennis pros and just her fight to be back at the top of her game despite her age and despite just things happening in her personal life. So that was a really good one.
Have you seen the special edition spray edged The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo?
No, but
Oh my gosh, they're beautiful.
oh, okay, I gotta see, I gotta see.
Yeah, they're beautiful to the point that I debated buying another copy. Just just to have it because it was I like that book so much. I really wanna read Carrie Soto is back. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid so much, like, all of her books. I don't know what is I guess, like, Daisy Jones and the Six, I just loved it so much that I'm, like, afraid to be let
By
down
another book.
by
The only one I've
yeah.
heard that, my friend Maddie read it, and oh, you've met Maddie. Yeah, duh. We were all in Colorado together. She did not necessarily enjoy The Paper Palace by Taylor Jenkins
Okay.
Reid. She said that could have been a leave
That's
in.
by Taylor Jenkins
I'm pretty
Reid?
sure. Maybe I'm wrong. But she read one book, maybe I'm getting the wrong title. She read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book that she was like, "I could have left that, like, I didn't need to read that one."
That's how I felt about One True Loves by her,
Okay.
to the point that I didn't actually finish it, and I told someone to just tell me how it ended. Um, and then they adapted that into a film, and I
Really?
refused to watch it.
Okay.
Yes. But I will say other people absolutely I've talked to love One True Loves.
Really?
Um, yeah, but I couldn't finish it, and that rarely happens. Like, I don't know, I just am even if I'm not liking something, I normally feel very committed to, like, finishing it, and because I just wanna know what
Right.
happens in the end, and I didn't finish that one, and then I talked to someone and I was like, "Can you just tell me what
Yes.
happened?"
Okay, I totally said the wrong title. It's not Paper Palace, it's Malibu Rising, and I said Paper Palace
Okay.
instead because in my Goodreads order, they're, like, one on top of the other, so whoops. Malibu Rising, she said was, like,
Okay.
hit or miss. So,
Interesting, interesting.
okay.
I feel like my mom read Malibu
What
Rising.
did she
Maybe I'm
think?
recalling that incorrectly. I wanna say she liked
Okay.
it,
Well,
but I could be
I
very
also
wrong. I
like,
don't
I personally haven't read it, so maybe it's just to each their own, I guess.
but Carrie Soto is back, you highly
Yes,
recommend.
yes.
Okay, so my books heavily my on my own books heavily were on the fantasy side. Um, with the exception of one, which was First Lie Wins. I audiobooked that and I could not stop listening. I I really, really liked it. Um, and then I mean, even to the point that I think within like the first couple minutes of me listening, I sent it to you and I was like, you need to read
Yes,
this.
and you're
Um,
not the only one because Sydney did the same thing and was like, "Have you read this or listened?" Because she also audiobooked it, and I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna buy it now," so I did.
I listened to it and I loved it, and then I recommended it to you, I recommended it to my mom. This is one too that it is so it's not scary, obviously, but there is kind of this like thriller, ominous, undertone with a lot of what's going on. And I was driving in like the back roads of Florida and I was basically alternating between this and My Favorite Murder, and at one point, I, like, really had to pull over to go to the bathroom, but I was in the middle of nowhere, and I just stop and I pull into this parking lot, this really sketchy bathroom, and I was like, "I think I die
Oh my
here,"
god.
like, because I was just going back and forth between that podcast and this book, and but loved that book, like, could not stop listening. So other than that, I was definitely in a fantasy read a lot this year. I loved A Fate Inked in Blood. This was a Viking romantasy book, and as we've talked about on this podcast before, I love basically anything Viking related, so Vikings with powers was, like, great in my opinion. Um but I'm really excited. So that is just one book right now, which is the only bummer that you really can't jump into the rest of them. I also really liked One Dark Window, which is a completed duology, the Shepherd King duology. And that's book one. I absolutely loved this adult fantasy. I thought the magic and the world that was created was more unique. It's sort of more of like a gothic fantasy. I thought the magic that she created, which isn't the same, but like could sort of be loosely based off of tarot cards, I would
Oh,
say. But the cards are like how you get the magic, and it is about a girl who she has like a monster living inside her head, and it sort of like is the monster from one of these cards, and is the monster good and protecting her or ultimately bad and like swaying her decisions? And so
interesting.
very yes, you might actually like
Okay. I
it.
mean, I'm intrigued for
Um,
sure.
you might actually like it. Um, I would recommend it to you as like a hey, and it's completed. It's 2 books and like you're done.
Okay.
So it's relatively easy commitment. The opposite of an easy commitment would be Throne of Glass, which I finished this year. And so also in my top 5 books on my own would be Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash. I finished these early in the year and I still think about them regularly, and I mean it literally just plays in my head. Certain scenes play in my head, the characters, the dialogue, sentences. I I literally have not stopped thinking about it. I probably think about it at least once a day, and all I want to do is reread it. And so it is truly a struggle every single time I go to pick up a new book to be like, or should I just
Just
start
read
Throne of Glass over and read all 8 books?
Oh my gosh, it's 8?
Yep. Mhm, mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
Wow.
And I read books I read books 1 and 2, Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight last year in 2023, and then I read Assassin's Blade, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash all
Oh
this
my
year.
gosh. I feel like the last time I read a series that large was, like, Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh, great
It's a
series.
great series, but I
Um,
was, like, in middle school.
I when I finished, I, like, had a hard time processing that I was done
Um,
after all of
yeah.
that. So,
Well, because I feel like,
um,
I mean, anything like that, like, even if a show that you binge watch or whatever, I just feel like you just get so sucked in that it is hard to, like, separate, like, "Oh, man, it's over now. What am I supposed to
I
do with these
know.
thoughts and feelings?"
Yes. So, and then thanks to Jordan and Emily, I decided to I like couldn't pick up Crescent City, which is also by Sarah J. Maas. Could not pick up Crescent City, was sort of forced to do that, and very glad that I was because I was putting it off. But it also just makes me want to go reread Throne of Glass because I love that whole series. So
Yes, very, very different perspectives from each of us. That's okay. That's what makes this work.
I know. I like it. I like it. So, um, I think on your list, like, I really wanna read The Perfect Marriage.
Yes, definitely read The Perfect Marriage, and if you are interested, I do like, you should read Tell Me Lies. Like, if you like the show,
Okay.
I feel like you'll see what I mean about the book, if that makes sense.
S so I will say I liked season
Yeah,
1 for how much you can like a show that is about really awful
yeah,
person. Um, and I really liked season 1. Season 2, I've had a hard time getting through.
and I will say season 2 is, I mean, that's all just writing, like, that has nothing to do with the book at all. It's like, that's just
Oh,
them, like, spiraling off, making characters have their own things going on. So, yeah, season 2 is not in the book at all.
did you finish season 2?
Yes.
Is it worth it for me to keep going?
Um, I think so, at least to get to, the last episode because it leaves you on a cliffhanger of something that happens during season 2 that you're like, "Okay, well, now there's gonna be a season 3 for sure, or there better be because I gotta know what happens next." So, but
Okay.
I'm curious, like, how long they'll keep this going because, like, what other material are they gonna come up with? That's what I don't know.
Okay. Well, possibly. And maybe I get you to read One Dark Window and we cover it on the podcast next year.
Hey, yes, I mean, I'm down. You know me, I can do, like, a fantasy a year.
I know. I'm talking maybe that's the one.
But and I'm, like, laughing at myself because you wrote, like, The Shepherd King, and I read it as Stephen King, and I was like, "Girl, yes, you're getting into Stephen King now." But no, it's Shepherd King.
It's The Shepherd King. Um, yeah, so lots of book recommendations, lots of I truly cannot believe we had such amazing author interviews this year. Um,
I'm sad
I
for all
would
the ones that
never
I missed out on too, dang it.
Oh, there were some really good ones too. I'm trying to think about, like, who you missed out on. Um, Taryn Davidson, The Flame of Prometheus, I actually think you would really like her book too. It's dystopian,
Mm,
which I know you tend to like, and it's very, like, fun, adventurous, really drops you right into the story. It was a good one and an awesome conversation. I'm trying to think, it's so bad that I don't even remember, like, who you've
I
talked to.
know, well, I feel like everything just, like, happened all back to back to back, it's hard to distinguish, like, which month did that happen in?
Yeah, I so A.S. King was she was so so fun to talk to. Elena Bruzas, we had such a good conversation. That was one that you missed, and I that one is one I think I even said it in the episode, I don't know if you listened, but I was like, "Megan would have loved to be
Oh,
here for this conversation." She just is very similar to the 2 of us in interests and everything, and so it was a really good conversation for her her book that we were talking about is very sad, although I feel like I learned so much from reading it and from talking to her, to the point that I like tell people about the book just because the concept and the story, which it's based on real people and a real situation. um I just didn't know a lot about it, and now I find myself in conversation, if someone just happens to bring it up, I'm like, let me tell you all
yeah.
about. I'm like, let can I talk to you more about this?
Yes.
um Despite the fact that it's a very heavy book, it's a very heavy topic, and so we had a good time. Caroline Woods, that was another one that you would have really liked that, and I think you should read her book. It's called The Mesmerist.
Yes, I do want I've
Okay.
seen it on shelves, and I'm like, "I wanna
Yeah,
pick that up."
you should read it.
Okay.
You should read that one for sure. You would really like that. Love that conversation with her. Also, again, someone that I was like, oh, she's very similar and has similar interests to the 2 of us. So that was a good one. Randy Rebai was great. I really, really enjoyed his book, and then talking with him too, again, like introducing me, I guess, to a time period and people that like I didn't know a lot about. And the way talking to him about how he structured his story was really fascinating too, because he had 4 men, 4 perspectives, 4 timelines in this book too, and how they all influenced one another and ultimately came together. It was really, really neat to talk with him. And I think those are all the ones you weren't there for. But
Feels like a lot. It was a
we
lot.
talked to a lot of.
You've been doing a lot of work, girl.
Oh, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. We've got more scheduled already for
Yay,
2025 for season 3. So we'll be back
yay.
and back with more books, back with more conversations. But thanks so much for tuning in to this season of Narratives and Nightcaps. Whether you listen to one episode or 10 or all of them, we appreciate it. If you get a chance and can leave a review or leave a rating, it goes a long way for this podcast and for others. We really appreciate it. And we will talk more in the new year. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bum.